Hello everyone, good afternoon. Thanks for joining our sprint review meeting. Before we dive into sprint 3 planning, we're going to start with a walkthrough of our progress from sprint 1 and sprint 2. Today, we'll discuss what we completed, of course, what went well, what challenges we faced, and what we learned as a team. But before we start, let's quickly introduce ourselves for context. Again, my name is Cedric. I am your Scrum Master for the EchoLink project. My role is to ensure our team follows the Scrum framework, remove blockers, keep communication flowing, and help the team continuously improve.
So thank you for that, Cedric. So hi everyone, my name is Claret and I'm the product owner. So my main responsibility is to define the product vision, maintain and prioritize the backlog, and make sure that the development team is always working on the features and that deliver the highest value to our users.
So,
Hello, I'm Renalyn, one of the developers. I work heavily on the back-end and core system setup during Sprint 1 and Sprint 2. My focus is building a stable, scalable foundation that future features can depend on.
Mhm.
Hello everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Yeah. My name is Gian. I'm one of the developers. My work essentially revolves around bridging front end UI or user interface and back end APIs to make sure the user experience is both clean and technically functional.
Hi everyone, my name is Debbie Jane and I am one of the developer for this project, and my role here is to involve and collaborating with the project manager and the rest of the team to ensure that all development tasks are completed on time.
Okay, great. Nice to meet each and every one of you. Now, before we begin, I would like to commend the developers for creating such a wonderful application. I can see through my screen that you have done a good job. So, before we start planning or having a quick recap of what you've done, let me go ahead and present to you what you've done so far. So as you can see on my screen, we've got here EchoLink, of course, our product. So we're gonna try and register a user to see if the login works. So let's go to register. So I'm gonna ask one of you guys or ask your permission to use your name for this. So I'm gonna ask Miss Claret here. So I'm gonna use your name for the username and then create a password. So claret at gmail.com. So as you can see, it's working, the date and stuff. That's good. All right. So let's log in with our application. So it works. So
Oh,
congratulations, guys. So this is what we've done so far. Right now we have multiple chat rooms. These are all custom made. So we've got different chat rooms for different occasions. One is general, secondary. All of this, job well done. As you can see, if we go to MIS chat, for example, we can type hello, everyone. And as you can see, Gian already started saying hello. So yeah, it works. The messaging works. So again, congratulations to each and every one of you. You've done a magnificent job of the first of our first sprint and our second sprint. But before that, let's just do a quick recap of what really went down, what are the things we did, and how did we get to this point of the application. So now that everyone introduced themselves, let's begin. So, before we finalize Sprint 3 planning, we first need to review our progress so far. Today, I'll walk you through what we accomplished in Sprint 1 and Sprint 2. What went well, what needs to be improved, and what we learned as an overall team. This reflection helps us build stronger commitments for Sprint 3 that we will be doing in the next couple of weeks, and ensures that we're improving our process every sprint. So let's begin with Sprint 1, which ran from November 25 to December 6. Sprint 1 served as the foundation of EchoLink. These were the essential building blocks that allow the rest of the products to function properly. Ren, I'll pass it to you to explain what we completed. Take it away.
Sure, Cedric. In Sprint 1, we completed a total of 14 story points across three major foundational features. First, we have the login and registration, 5 story points. We build a secure and stable authentication flow. This was crucial because every other feature depends on users having verified identities. And then we have organization onboarding, 4 story points. We implemented a workflow for new organizations to set up their workspace. This includes workspace creation, linking users, and establishing the initial environment for communication. And the third, we had admin channel creation, 5 story points. Admins can now create the initial channels that teams will use to begin their conversations. Together, these features form the baseline of EchoLink. Without them, we wouldn't even be able to start building real-time messaging or collaboration tools. What went well in Sprint 1 was definitely team collaboration. Communication with Claret was smooth. Requirements were simple and well-defined. Stand-ups help us identify blockers early. Everyone knew exactly what they were responsible for. Because of all of this, we were able to finish everything we're committed to. Sprint 1 felt organized, disciplined, and surprisingly efficient for the first sprint of a new product. Of course, Sprint 1 also gave us insights into what we needed to improve. Early test, no, sorry about that, time estimation. Authentication took longer than expected. We learned that estimating foundational features requires more detail. Early testing. Testing was pushed near the end of the sprint, which created pressures and bottlenecks. Documentation. We realized that we need better technical documentation to ensure smooth, hands-off, and alignment across the team. But overall, Sprint 1 did exactly what it needed to do. It set a strong, stable foundation. I'd like to add that while authentication was challenging, it paid off. The stable and secure foundation created will be critical as future features like messaging, profile data. It depends heavily on accurate user identity. So even though it took more effort, it was worth it.
Okay, thank you so much, Ren, for that. And now let's continue along with Sprint 2, which ran from December 9th to December 20th. While Sprint 1 built the basic structure, Sprint 2, we focused more on building the core of the messaging experience, like what I've shown. So, Gian, can you walk us through Sprint 2's achievements? Thank you so much.
Sure. Let's talk about Sprint 2. So we wrap it up with 16 story points, which, if you remember, is a nice bump from the 14 we did in Sprint 1. I'm actually pretty proud of what the team accomplished here. Now let me walk you through on the three main features we delivered. First up, channel UI layout for 6 story points. This was the first or the interface where users can see all their available channels and switch between them. Think of it like the sidebar in Slack or Teams. We also made sure it was clean, responsive, and this was important. It actually connects properly to the backend channel data. So no more mock data floating around. Second, user profile display for 4 story points. Now users can see display names, profile pictures, and basic info when they're chatting. This might sound simple, but it's used for communication clarity. When you see John from engineering, instead of just user underscore 12345, it makes the whole experience feel more human. And third, backend message storage API for 6 story points. This is the heavy lifter. Devi and I collaborated on this one. Essentially, it is the API that stores every message securely in our database, links it to the right channel ID and user ID, and also make sure everything's indexed properly for retrieval. Now, why does this matter? Well, everything we're doing in Sprint 3, the real-time web socket stuff, the message syncing, all of that sits on top of this storage layer. Now, if this isn't rock solid, nothing else will work. So we took our time, wrote thorough tests, and made sure that it is production ready. So, what went well in this sprint? Honestly, quite a bit. Now, let me break it down. First, our velocity went from, again, 14 to 16 story points. Well, that is not just a number. It means we're getting better at estimating and executing. We're finding our rhythm as a team. Second, the API integration was smooth, like surprisingly smooth. Ren did a great job on the front end. And when we hooked up the channel UI to the back end, there were almost, zero hiccups. That is rare, and it is a sign well, that we're communicating well rather during development. Third, our testing coverage improved. We had way fewer bugs after Sprint 2 compared to Sprint 1. I think that's because we started writing tests during development instead of scrambling at the end. Devi was really pushing for this, and it really paid off. And finally, front end and back end alignment was strong. We had a sync meeting midway through the sprint where Ren, Devi, and I sat down and walked through the data contracts together. That 30-minute conversation saved us probably a day of back to end or back and forth rather later. So yeah, Sprint 2 overall gave us a really solid foundation. The pieces are in place, and now we're ready to tackle the big one, real-time messaging. Now, let's talk about what didn't go perfectly because there's always room for improvement, right? Now, first, the last minute fixes. We had a few changes that got pushed toward the end of the sprint, like literally the last 2 days. Now, part of that was underestimating the complexity of the message storage schema, and part of it was just poor time management on my behalf. I should have flagged it earlier. So yeah, lesson learned. Second, code review timing. Our code reviews were kind of scattered. Sometimes Ren would submit a PR on a Monday and not get feedback until Thursday. That really slowed things down. We need to be more, consistent, obviously. Maybe set specific code review blocks or rotate who's responsible each day. And third, environment setup issues. This was frustrating. Debbie and I were running slightly different versions of the database locally, and it caused some weird bugs that took us, hours to track down. We really need to nail down our Docker setup so everyone's environment is identical from day one. Now, once we smooth out these rough edges, I think future sprints will run even, smoothly and efficiently. These aren't big blockers, but just, friction point we can eliminate. So, bottom line, our backend message storage API is stable, I could say. It's tested and it's ready to support everything we're building in Sprint through. And that's a huge win for the team. And I want to give a shout out to everyone. The coordination this sprint was really, strong. Ren, Devi, and I had, great communication. And when blockers came up, we tackled them together. Now, looking ahead, I'm feeling confident that we've laid the groundwork. We now know what needs to happen next, and we're ready to move into more advanced functionality, like the real-time messaging. Right. So it is going to be a challenge, I would say, but after we accomplished what we accomplished in Sprint 2, I think we're more than ready for it. So that's pretty much it for me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Gian. So let's give yourselves a round of applause here. I'm very impressed of how you and your colleagues, Ren, Devi, are able to support each other, to communicate, to consistently have this type of mentality and this passion towards fulfilling those objectives. That is what we need for this team to be able to become successful in the long run. And of course, I really appreciate the effort, the time, and just overall the dedication you put into one another, because the sprint would have been possible without your ability to work as one unit. So this is very intriguing for me, and of course to our product owner. We are very impressed of your overall coordination, and I'm looking forward for the next couple of weeks once we tackle along with Sprint 3. Hopefully, we can have a quick recap of this again, and we will start doing Sprint 3. So again, um, thank you so much. Now, looking at our velocity trend, just to make sure I've got everything correct. So sprint one, we've got 14 story points, right? And for sprint two, we've got 16 story points with an average velocity of 15 points. Now, actually, this is a great sign because the team is stabilizing and building momentum, which gives us confidence heading into sprint three. So that is a huge leap, and you should be proud of this. Okay, so to summarize, sprint one, we built the foundation, which is the authentication, onboarding, and admin tools. And in sprint two, we built the messaging infrastructure, channels UI, profile display, backend message database, like what I've shown you on the introduction of our meeting. So together, this sprint sets up perfectly for sprint three. I'm very excited, and we can finally build real-time messaging, our most important MVP feature. So don't forget about that. So with that being said, we now have a clear understanding of what we achieved and what we learned. So great work so far, team. Again, I am very happy of our progress. Let's now move forward to planning sprint three, where we focus on real-time messaging and improving communication clarity. So again, thank you so much for joining this meeting, guys. And I would say this session is adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
All right,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank you,
Have a
everyone.
great one, everyone. Bye.
Hello, good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Hello, everybody. I'm glad that you all came. I know that everybody's busy, so thank you again, everyone, for joining this wonderful meeting between student place today. So, again, thank you. And we are kicking off Sprint 3 for EchoLink, as you may know. And the goal is to decide what we can realistically deliver and make sure we're all aligned on the sprint goal. I'm sure all of you know Clark, of course, my partner here. Clark, can you start by walking us through the product vision and just tell us what's currently at the top of our backlog?
Alright, so thank you, Cedric, and hello, everyone. So, of course, just to give you an overview about our product vision and backlog. So, just to recap, So EchoLink is all about improving workplace communication, as you all know, and real-time messaging and channel organization. And also the simple tasks related of discussions. So for the MVP or our top priority for the company, so our biggest priority is to make messaging work smoothly and reliably for everyone. So I'll have here the 5 top user backlog items and are fully refined and ready for development. So first, for the user story, they want the real-time send and receive messages on their applications. And the second one would be the channel list and switching user interface. And then the third one would be the message timestamps and read indicators. And for the fourth one is they want the file upload button for their user interface. And the last one would be the direct messages. So I hope everything is here and we have a clear acceptance criteria and dependencies have been already shared. So that's all for me.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Moving on to the review, I'd like to quickly walk through what the development team successfully completed in Sprint 1. In total, we finished features amounting to 14 story points for this sprint. Specifically, we delivered the following core functionality. First, we completed the login and registration feature, which was a 5-point item. This is fully integrated and tested. Next, we finished the organization and boarding workflow, which was estimated at 4 points. This allows new organizations to successfully set up their accounts. And finally, we wrapped up the admin channel creation feature, which was also a 5-point item, giving administrators the tools they need to configure their initial environment.
Yeah. Also, to freshen everyone's memory, in Sprint 2, we focus on building the core messaging ecosystem. Now, from the product backlog, we completed channel UI layouts, the user profile displaying feature, and also the backend message storage API. Now, it is important to note that these are stories helped us connect the front end with the back end. And now messages can be stored properly. This gives us a working foundation for real-time updates in the next sprint.
Good day, everyone. I'd like to share a quick update on our velocity so far, completing 14 story points in sprint 1 and 16 story points in sprint 2, resulting in an average velocity of 15 points. This really reflects consistent performance across the sprint.
Alright, so again, just to give you an overview about our process trap sprint goal. So given where the product is right now, so here's my proposal for the sprint goal. So mostly they want the enable functional real-time messaging and improve communication clarity on the user's end or story. So the stories that support this is that real-time messaging, channel switching, and timestamp plus read status. But we just need to finalize based on your capacity. So each of you has to be flexible for that.
Okay, so now that we are in agreement with 20 letters, so let's just confirm the capacity. We have a 10-day sprint. Any constraints?
With ceremonies included, we realistically have about 9 full working days. I do have a half day of next week, so minus half day from my capacity.
All right. Well, moving forward, let's continue reserving about 10% of our sprint capacity for maintenance, support, and unexpected bugs. So this also helps us manage technical debt, stay flexible when issues come up, and keep our overall velocity stable. It also ensures we always have room, to address small fixes without disrupting our committed sprint backlog. So it's simple. It's simple practice, but it really, helps keeps the product healthy as we scale it.
So perfect. Based on that, and with a 15-point average velocity, what do you think we can commit to? So 15 story points.
Yeah, I think 15 story point. Yeah, that
15
was the
story
great.
points, 15 points.
Okay, great.
Okay, 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 great.
Okay, so next up is backlog selection for the upcoming sprint. I need to stress that the story 10 real-time messaging 12 points must be included this time. This feature is critical for the user experience and represents a major dependency for several other items planned later. We need to tackle the significant piece now to prevent roadblocks down the line. Let's ensure we pull the 12 points for real-time messaging into the sprint commitment.
Well, yeah, I agree. That foundation is essential. Everything else we plan or in the future, rather, sprints will build. Or let me rephrase that. So yeah, the foundation, as I said, is essential. Everything else we plan for in future sprints will build on top of it. Now, getting this right now makes the next increments much smoother.
Oh yeah. For the next logical add-on is the timestamp and read indicators with the 4 points. It directly supports messaging clarity.
That would put us at 16 points, but since we want to stay realistic, we should keep it to 15.
Yes, 12 plus 4 is 16, but we cannot treat it as a target of 15 and keep a smaller buffer.
Yeah.
Better to commit, slightly under to be safe.
All right then. So final decision. We're selecting 15 points, right? So real-time messaging plus the timestamp and video indicators.
Okay. First up, WebSocket setup and connection management. That's a solid 6 hours. We need to get the server and client talking and handle those connections or disconnect connection pings reliably. Once the pipe is open, we jump straight to the server side, back-end, event, listeners, and triggers. Another 6 hours here. This is where we tell the back-end. If you get a message, figure out who it's for and shoot. There's packet. Then the part where the user sees message input, UI, and sending logic, 5 hours. We'll build the text box, the send button, and the logic to grab the user's text and fire it with the server. Finally, we bring it home with testing and integration, a quick 4 hours. We'll make sure the message goes from the front end through the back end and pops up instantly on the recipient screen. If we hit this target, we'll have a working send-receive loop nailed down.
All right. Well, just to make sure that we are on the same page for timestamps and read status, timestamp forwarding logic, that's 4 hours. Back end read status flag, that's another 4 hours. UI indicators for read receipts, 3 hours. Unit testing, 3 hours. So with these numbers, this will improve message clarity once real-time messaging is functional.
So, okay, the workload looks like evenly distributed. No blockers visible, dependencies are minimal. So, we're officially committing to real-time messaging with the 12 points. And the second one is timestamp plus the read indicators with 4 points with a total of 15 story points.
Alright, so thank you. So that aligns perfectly with the product direction and of course adds reveal value for using. Great choices.
All right, so there we go. Here's our final sprint goal: deliver a real-time messaging with timestamps and read status indicators to enhance, of course, the clarity and engagement in workplace communication. Great collaboration today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again. Let's move forward with confidence. Sprint 3 officially starts now. Meeting adjourned.
Alright, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.